So, Freunde, Top 10 neue Games von Juni 2026. Wir schauen uns das mal an.
June 2026 is shaping
Danke an den Kollegen, ich verlinke dich unten in der Videobeschreibung.
I don't know how big your backlog is, but it's about to get bigger. And every month we round up the biggest upcoming games that we're most likely to talk about. I'm not necessarily telling you you're going to love every one of these games, but then again, any of them could end up being your next favorite game. I don't know. Hi folks, it's Falcon. Join the 1% Club and get the truly unhinged stuff. Today on GameRanx, the top 10 new games of June 2026. Starting off at number 10, we have got Killer Bean. Frankly, a game that sounds like a bet of some kind, like I bet
Mad Max
to make this game and release it, and people will
Max
talk
Payne.
about it. I don't know. It is about a bean.
Diesen Effekt haben wir auch früher bei den Matrix-Spielen gehabt. Das war richtig geil.
But a bean type game. You know, expansive genre. Lots of John Wick but bean type games. But yeah, this kind of came out of like some
erinnert mich an Enter the Matrix. Also es ist auf jeden Fall geil. Holt es euch, wenn ihr noch eine PlayStation 2 habt. Ansonsten emuliert das mal. Darf ich euch jetzt nicht so sagen, aber wir haben ja alle eine Sicherheitskopie zu Hause.
So now he's blasting his way through a criminal underworld made of beans. All of them are beans.
Kauft es euch und emuliert es dann.
This is just a crazy looking game to me. It looks like it's actually pretty damn good. It's been play tested and people have given some pretty positive feedback. But now they're fully entering early access on June 8th, and I think I'm not alone when I say I'm going to flick the bean. I don't get to say that very much. I don't have a bean in that respect, so I'm taking the bean by the horns. Hey, so getting YouTube videos out there just seems to be getting harder. I've pointed a finger at shorts quite a bit, and I do think that's a big thing, but also the algorithm does some crazy stuff. So if you want to do us a big favor and make sure that you see all of our
videos. Der Algorithmus hat mich dazu gebracht, drauf zu reacten. I'm reacting because of the algorithm, bro.
Nintendo Switch 2, which is completely insane to say. It is a full remake of Star Fox 64, which I don't want to get into the remake-ception that is the Star Fox series. I'm just psyched that they've stopped trying to make quote-unquote different.
Das erinnert mich an MDK, so ein Spiel aus meiner Kindheit.
Star Fox 64,
MDK 2.
Nintendo is saying this is Star Fox. So any future Star Fox games we can expect to follow this. See, if this was just a re-release with an up-res and maybe some better character models or character art, it wouldn't be that. But by fully remaking it, putting all their attention into it, and adding narrative cutscenes, what they're saying is that this is Star Fox. And I know it's controversial, but I love the character models. They look like the old puppets from the Star Fox Super Nintendo era commercials and the box art. And when I say they look like it, I mean they look a lot
so
like
sah
it.
Gaming aus, als ich klein war.
Late 80s, early 90s puppet look, and I love it. I'm so on board for this.
Gab's auch immer so einen Professor Hund, glaube ich.
Nintendo needed to do with the franchise, and then they need to follow it up later with a game that follows this formula but gives us new stuff. That is the promise of the Star Fox Switch 2 remake. I cannot see how they wouldn't deliver on this. I mean, it's a fantastic game, and they're preserving all of the level layouts. It's hard for me to imagine them screwing this up, especially after, like, hinting at it by dropping Fox into the Mario Galaxy movie. They've been thinking about this a while. I'm super excited for Star Fox. It's coming to Nintendo Switch 2 on June 25th. At number 8 is Hollow Body, what is being called a tech noir survival horror game. It's a game that came out on PC back in 2024, but it's going to be landing on consoles this month. It's basically a love letter to early 2000s survival horror. It's got fixed and dynamic camera angles, limited resources, environmental puzzles, grimy apartments, which, yeah, that's basically what those games were back then.
Ja, bisschen Resident Evil auf Steroiden.
Is looking for her missing partner in a sealed-off exclusion zone in an abandoned British city. The console version is also arriving.
Silent Hill Resident Evil Remix
PC updates,
mit Indie-Game.
Optional puzzles, some new locations, more lore, some quality of life fixes, and a third-person camera mode, as well as, I'm sure, some other things. That's good news. Honestly, it's a pretty damn interesting game. Hollow Body is landing on PS4 and Xbox Series June 4th. Man, number 7 is NBA The Run, basically a spiritual successor to NBA Street. It's kind of the game a lot of people have been begging for amidst, badge grindy realism fests that aren't really that realistic. They're just very, I guess, in a lot of ways, tedious. The Run is a fast-paced online 3 versus 3 street basketball game that has cranked up the
Das stelle ich mir ganz geil vor. Ich bin FIFA Street Fan.
That's what a basketball game needs.
Ich find's schade, dass es kein neues FIFA Street gibt.
Like the heavy simulation stuff, but I miss NBA Street and NBA Jam for that matter. There's a little bit of that in the sauce. There's sort of a 4-round tournament that goes on during the course of the game, but really the appeal is the gameplay. The arcade basketball energy has just basically vanished. And every sports game, not just basketball, but every sports game is like an annualized economy simulator where a lot of the time is spent in menus. For me, a $30 arcade basketball game launching outside that machine, I'm there. NBA The Run is landing on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series.
Ja, wird klasse gedankt.
And number 6, we've got EA Sports UFC 6. Just kind of the other end of the spectrum. We did just dump a bit on sports games.
Bitte bringt das im PC Game Pass mal rein.
Roster economies.
Da hätte ich so Bock drauf.
It's important to note the UFC 6 is not an annual release. The last mainline game was UFC 5, which came out in October of 2023. Doesn't automatically mean it's safe from a lot of EA nonsense, but I actually do think the UFC games justify themselves, A, by not doing it annually, and B, actually adding and making the game more interesting, or at least something else. The big feature
hätte ich Bock, einen eigenen Charakter erschaffen und UFC zu spielen. Vielleicht hole ich mir das jetzt, wenn es rauskommt.
EA says there's 30 unique fighter flow states in the game, which they sort of tie into counters, grappling, and all that stuff, which I do like the idea of each player feeling more distinct. It's not like UFC has a huge problem with that in previous games, but I definitely like that it's something they're going further with here. These are generally pretty good games. UFC 6 is landing on PS5 and Xbox Series June 19th. And number 5 is Witchspire, an open-world co-op witch adventure from Envar Games. It kind of asks the question, what is Valheim but witches? You get the whole broomstick fantasy, the survival crafting, and you get familiars and magic combat and all that stuff.
Da bin ich raus. Aber wenn es auf Game Pass gibt, dann wird es auf jeden Fall gespielt, gell?
Monsters, leveling up, customizing a skill tree, and building up a base, or as it's called here, a sanctuary. The additional thing is kind of familiars. It's kind of like Pokemon, except not quite. Like Persona technically is a game about familiars, or if you've ever played Ni no Kuni, it's not as though it's not entirely removed from Pokemon, but it's not exactly the same thing as Pokemon either. Pokemon is certainly actually derived from the concept of familiars, or at least I think it is. Doesn't matter. The game is hitting early access on June 10th for PC, and it does look like a kind of Xbox Fable adjacent affair. Although granted, it's not that. It's definitely a different kind of game, but it's got that feel to it, you know? Or at least hopefully it does. We'll see when it comes out, which it does on Steam June 10th. And number 4, it's Kappa City, a football manager sim, or maybe more accurately, an economic strategy game, more an event management simulator than the direct football management. You're neither the coach nor the player, but the organizer of the event. You basically handle everything going in. So you need to have the venue set up, you need to have snacks available, the restrooms working. You should ideally be prepared for riots, that type of stuff. Crowd control. It's an interesting game. It's not what normally is focused on with these types of things. But hey, you're
ein Strategiespiel gegen Hooligans.
And you're creating the atmosphere for the game. Game's landing on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series June 16th. Then number 3 is Solar Punk, a survival game that takes place in what is technically an advanced world, rather than a primitive one where you wake up in your underwear. You build sky bases, grow food, craft gadgets, automate systems, and explore distant islands with an airship. You can play it in single player and co-op, and it looks pretty damn cool. So it's kind of like a survival game if you throw in some Satisfactory a bit, and also the top layer of Tears of the Kingdom's world, the floating islands, I guess. It is an extremely different looking game for a survival game. I don't think it's gonna blow you away with its graphics or anything. It's kind of cartoony, but it's a lot cozier than you would expect a survival game. I'm not sure if I would say that it comes off like like Stardew Valley necessarily, but I also think that's somewhere in the rest.
Das wäre was für Gronk, ja.
Cyberpunk is landing on PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch 2, June 8th. And number 2, it's the Gothic 1 remake. THQ Nordic and Alchemia Interactive are
Davon habe ich auch schon viel gehört, ja.
2001
Gothic
cult
1.
classic Entirely, which brings you back
That's
to the
remake.
Valley of the Minds, a prison
Hat's schon
colony where
rumgesprochen.
society is collapsed into factions, there's labor exploitation, and basically nobody likes you. The original Gothic was legendary because it was hostile, reactive, and very alive, albeit pretty janky. NPCs had routines, factions were a big thing. The world did not care how you were interacting with it. It was going to do what it was going to do. And this remake is promising a faithful but modernized open world RPG. Now, by modernized, it doesn't seem like they secretly mean we removed all the personality and added lots of icons. It seems like the personality is being retained, which is good. And also they're building on top of it. There's some expanded, underused locations. There's some new side quests. Orc culture is apparently fleshed out. So rather than taking away, it seems like there's a little bit of addition. And the additions seem to be in the visuals and the quality of life. I'm super interested in what the hell this is. And I'm absolutely playing it when it launches on June 5th on PC, PlayStation 5,
Das wäre auch was für mich, ja.
Series.
Bisschen
And
abgefreakt
finally,
mit den
number one's
Zaubern.
Hell Let Loose Vietnam. A shifting of the series from World War II to the Vietnam War. It doesn't change what Hell Let Loose is. You got the massive battles, the teamwork, the communication, 50 versus 50 tactical warfare. However, the setting of the Vietnam War is far more asymmetrical.
50 gegen
Like
50,
US
stark.
vastly outstripped Vietnam in terms of power. They have helicopters, explosive munitions. I mean, the whole military-industrial complex. Whereas Vietnam essentially fought guerrilla warfare against us, and won, historically speaking. I'm not sure if that's how it goes in this game. I'm sure it goes one way or the other quite often on account they're 50 versus 50 battles, and it's an ongoing thing. But to me, that's perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this. It's just that Vietnam is a completely different war than World War II. One that forces kind of a different kind of game, despite it really not being a different kind of game. Again, retaining basically everything that makes Hell Let Loose Hell Let Loose. I'm pretty excited for and interested in exactly how this works, because you don't really have this kind of scale in an asymmetrical sense that often in terms of online shooters. A lot of the time, the asymmetrical stuff is restricted to the, like Freddy or Big Monster or whatever versus some survivors or tacticians of some sort. Hell Let Loose Vietnam is landing on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series June 18th, and I do have some bonus games for you. First, Dave the Diver in the Jungle, which sends Dave and the crew to the village of Utara with a new grill focused on freshwater cuisine. A pretty healthy add-on, in my opinion, for Dave the Diver, a game that people really do enjoy. And then, perhaps on the other end of things, that being a
gameranx.
10-hour DLC, Xbox and Switch 2 are getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is, of course, an irresponsible amount of content. We love calling this an irresponsible game. It's so insane. And let's be clear, they need to make the money so that they can make this third game. Exclusivity, just not a clever idea, honestly, with such a massive, irresponsibly budgeted game with so much work put into it. That's landing on Switch 2 June 3rd. And there's a bunch of cool stuff this month. What do you think?
Alles klar, Leute. Danke an Gameranx für das tolle Video. Unten in der Beschreibung findet ihr seinen Link zu seinem Kanal. Lasst ein Abo da, lasst ein Like da, lasst ein nettes Kommentar da von Dante. Und ja, ich wünsche euch auf jeden Fall noch viel Gesundheit und nur das Beste. Ciao.